Hello and welcome to another episode of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at Dynasty Dad FF, joined as always by my main man at FFSnoog. And last week we brought you our foundational wide receivers to, smash from 2026 and beyond. Today, what we're going to bring you is what Snoog and I love to cover, and that is our foundational running backs to smash the playoffs for you guys and beyond. These are guys that, wide receivers ultimately are the guys that give you stability and how to let you work with this. Running backs are the ones that win you championships, just like the jersey that my man Snoog is wearing, Jahmyr Gibbs. We had him as our Dynasty RB1 for over a year and a half now. I think the industry is finally going to start catching up. He is the guy to own when it comes to Dynasty running backs.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it, Dad. CJ2K's post on Twitter talking about how Jahmyr Gibbs is the best running back in football. I think that's pretty clear right now. Obviously, you got to give Jonathan Taylor the credit. What he's been doing is absolutely phenomenal. But Jahmyr Gibbs is the future, right? 23 years old. We know what he's capable of doing in this Lions offense. And the biggest thing why we've had him as the Dynasty RB1 for 2 years now is his ability to, score from any point in the field. We saw it against the Giants yesterday in overtime, right? 69-yard touchdown to close out the game on the first two plays. Like, that's the type of player he is. He can bring you 15 points in a single play. He's done it multiple times this year, Dad. 3 out of the last 5 games, he's had 2 games with 38-plus points in a 55-point game. He's got Dallas. He's got the Steelers, 2 awful defenses in the fantasy playoffs. He's going to continue this and bring you to some championships.
100%. While you pull up his schedule the rest of the way here, I really want to go over, a lot of people really criticize with the foundational wide receivers what that looks like, and it's the foundational running back building blocks. We're looking for it a little bit different. With the wide receivers, we were looking for guys that are 25 or younger. At the running back position, we're looking 24 and younger. We're looking for guys that you're okay having them on a rebuild or a contending team. There's a lot of guys where Christian McCaffrey, James Cook, those guys on a rebuilding team in 2 years are going to be 28, 29 years old. They do you no good. We're also looking for elite usage and not just regular usage, but the ability to catch the ball. We know that a reception is, 0.65 better correlation than a run. So we're looking at, much better fantasy points production when you look at this. And Jahmyr Gibbs this past week, 7 receptions, Ashton Jeanty, 8 receptions. That's really what fuels your fantasy football teams. And then last but not least, obviously you're looking for a premium trade value. You're looking at guys that are worth multiple firsts. There's no point in us holding running backs in a rebuild if they're worth a late first. We're trying to flip them. We're trying to tier up to a wide receiver, get ourselves into a better position. So, Snoog, I'm looking at a lot of guys, and I'm just saying, you know what? We have a lot of potential with these running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs is that guy. Rest of the season, you look at this, he's got a great schedule coming up. When it comes to Jahmyr Gibbs, I have him, like we said, we both have him as our Dynasty RB1. His Superflex value right now is 3 firsts. I am comfortable paying 3 firsts. I am not comfortable selling for 3 firsts. Like, I am literally, if you come to me and you offer me 3 random 26 firsts, I'm going to tell you to get lost because there is not a, Jeremiah Love is going to be phenomenal, but I cannot say that there are multiple running backs in this class that even come close to what Jahmyr Gibbs would produce, even as 3 of them. So 3 firsts, and I know at the running back position, there are very few guys that you would consider doing that, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs is definitely worth that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you hit it on the head, Dad, and you see, right here, Green Bay, obviously a tough defense. You don't want to see him going up against them, but what we were saying backstage is it almost feels like Jahmyr Gibbs is situation proof against what defense he's going up against, right? This offense is going to get tons of red zone opportunities. As long as he can get, 3, 4, 5 receptions and get 15 touches and punching a touchdown, he's getting you 20-plus points every single week, and we've seen it all year like that. Yes, there was some tough games in there where he had 7 points, 5 points. It was an absolute crapshoot by the Detroit Lions offensively, and they literally had no red zone opportunities, and he wasn't getting receptions. As long as he's getting the receptions, which you can see, Dad, just the past couple weeks, 4 targets, 8 targets, 12 targets, resulting in over 200 yards receiving. He's starting to get utilized, and since Dan Campbell's taken over, you can see that upstick in volume. He's had his 2 highest snap share percentages on the year, 73 and 74% in back-to-back weeks as well. You see Dallas, you see the Rams, you see the Steelers, you see Minnesota all up in there. Not the worst defenses ever, but Pittsburgh and Dallas, sign me up all day. Those are 2 smash matchups for him to lock in that bye week for you and send you to the championship in week 17. And you know what the Vikings and Jahmyr Gibbs does to them. The past 4 games, he's been lights out against the Vikings defense.
And the other guy I have on this list, and I know I was almost tempted because it's not a tier gap, you know, and I know you and I have always been higher on Jahmyr Gibbs, but then the same tier, maybe slightly less value with the way that he's been playing lately, and I don't blame it on him. It's just Kirk Cousins is the quarterback now. The offensive play calling seems to always want to get Tyler Algier overly involved, in my opinion. But we talk about the other guy in this elite foundational cornerstone, you know, and we talked about the big wide receivers. They were that elite foundational cornerstone. Talk to me a little bit about the difference between the cornerstone running backs in Jahmyr and Bijan, as opposed to what we're going to talk about. These guys that are going to be, you know, they're going to win you your championships. There's those guys that are set up, set it and forget it. Don't even bother, because these guys are in your lineup every single week.
Yeah, as long as these two are healthy and, you know, the whole team isn't injured and they can still be in somewhat of a competent situation, they're going to be top 3 running backs in fantasy points scored, right? Like Bijan Robinson is ridiculously talented. You could argue that, you know, and any given week he's as talented or better than Jahmyr Gibbs, right? Maybe as a pure rusher, maybe more shifty, can catch the ball just as good. But I think just Gibbs is so electric from a scoring. It's Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, right, Dad? It's pick your poison. The thing that kind of separates Jamar from Jefferson is he's more electric and he gets those big plays like Jahmyr Gibbs, right? And then Bijan Robinson, like Justin Jefferson, a bit more polished, more, you know, a better route runner, more consistent between the tackles, those type of things. So I think just, again, like those two, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, I think Gibbs is on the better offense. He's in a better situation. The O-line's probably worse than the Falcons at this point. That interior O-line's awful in Detroit, but they're kind of piecing things together, and I don't think it's really going to matter with Gibbs because he hits the hole so damn fast. Like defensive lines can't even adjust before Gibbs is 5 yards down the field already. So I think they're literally wishy-washy. One year, one's going to be better than the other. The next year, one's going to be better than the other. But they're both top 5 running backs right now. Both have 50-plus receptions already through 11 games. Both finished top 3 last year. Like that, these guys are real legit, and they're elite running backs. It's CMC and Alvin Kamara all over again.
I think when you look at Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, the difference is Bijan is on the field all the time. You look at the last 4 games, I mean, 96%, 86%, 85%. This past week, only 66%. But, I mean, he dominates the shares. He dominates the touches. Not the touches, but the snap share. Pretty good schedule coming up down the stretch. I mean, you look at week 15, Tampa Bay, Arizona in week 16. Week 17 is a little bit tougher with the Rams. But sometimes these guys are so matchup proof. When you talk about tough matchups for Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson, they're going to catch passes. It doesn't matter. Like those are the guys that are literally going to be set it and forget it. I'm getting these guys in the lineup every single week. The interesting thing with Bijan Robinson is I'm seeing a lot of people put him up on their trade blocks right now in dynasty leagues. And it's like, this is the type of player that for the next 5 years, this is Bijan Robinson where Saquon Barkley is, right? Like for 5 years, you're going to see dominance, and he's not going to taper off until he's 28, like Saquon is right now. You know, and I think he's that same guy where Jahmyr Gibbs reminds me a little bit more of a Christian McCaffrey type ceiling with how explosive he is. But you're talking about 2 foundational running backs, and anybody that tells you they're not, they're literally just fooling themselves. They want to try to pick and find warts with players that don't really exist. And he's that guy. He's absolutely phenomenal. The next guys that we're looking at, you know, those guys were our centerpiece running backs. These are our cornerstones. These are the guys that are, you know, going to fill out your roster. If you have one of those 2 guys, you are absolutely elite. But then you look at this group here, and this group here is phenomenal. And just like in 2023, and we told everybody in 2022, Snoog was still a baby, but that we were going to go ahead and purposely rebuild for 2023. I can't tell you how many rosters I have, Bijan, Gibbs, and Achane. And they're guaranteed championships when you can get those 3 guys. We told everybody in 2024, you know what you got to do? You got to rebuild for 2025 because you're going to get running backs like Ashton Jeanty. You're going to get Omarion Hampton. You're going to get TreVeyon Henderson. You're going to get Quinshon Judkins, Skattebo. And 4 of these guys are in our next tier. This tier here, when I look at it, I'm really happy with where a lot of our elite wide receivers are starting to turn 27, 28, 20, 29. Our running backs, we are loaded for years, Snoog. And these are the guys that we've been telling everybody to buy. I can't tell you how many shares I have of TreVeyon Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, Ashton Jeanty, and it feels good to be ahead of the game that now we're set for years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this tier of 5 guys right here are going to be making up that running back position for the next 5+ years. Add in Jeremiah Love and some of these 2026 and 2027 rookies coming the next 2 years. But I mean, the best thing about all of these running backs is they're all super talented. A couple of them are in solid situations, but honestly, like all these situations can get better, which is even better, right? Like you want to see, Jeanty, Judkins, Achane, like their situations to me, like aren't great right now, right? Like, I mean, Achane's is from a fantasy football perspective, but give them a real winning team, an offense that's actually putting up points consistently. You're going to see a guy here that can put up even more fantasy points like we've been seeing. Like, he is such a good receiver.
I think a lot of people have Achane higher than Jeanty. What I've really liked since the bye week, you look at him and he's been RB5, RB14. He had that rough game against Dallas, but then RB3 this past week. And now with Chip Kelly gone, he saw an insane workload. He saw 17 rushing attempts, back-to-back 8 target games. And that's really what we need to see is get Ashton Jeanty the ball in space. And we're seeing him finish really well. Like, obviously, Achane has been phenomenal, but we look at Ashton Jeanty, he's RB10 on the year. The difference being Achane, when Tua was out, and I have to keep saying this, but when Tua was out, he was barely an RB2. Yeah. Ashton Jeanty is playing as an RB1 with the worst offensive line in football and the worst quarterback and boring play calling. So, like, a lot of you guys are really...
Chip Kelly got fired through 10 games.
And this has been his best spot since. But, I mean, what I'm saying is go buy Ashton Jeanty. Jeanty has a nice slate. He does have the ankle injury, but he's got Philly in week 15. He's got the Giants in week 17. He's got a tough Houston in week 16, but he's got a really good playoff schedule. He's someone that I'm interested in buying. Let's pull up what we're talking about here with Ashton Jeanty because, he's just 21 years old. That's a big difference between Devon Achane, who's 24, and a lot more tread off the tires, and then we see I would pay 2.5 first for Ashton Jeanty right now. I know a lot of people are going to ask this question, and I'm just going to address it. Jeremiah Love is right here. He is in that elite cornerstone running backs. I would put him above Jeanty at this point, just based off of that 101 value is just going to keep going up and up and up. But he's definitely in this tier. So if you can have an opportunity to get that 101 from somebody, know that it's going to be in this same value tier at 2.5 first. And I traded the other day, I traded Jeanty for what is going to be the 101 and another first. And I think that's feasible in a lot of your leagues because people see what's in front of their face. But this guy is the real deal, just like Ashton Jeanty. And Jeanty's schedule here looking really good. You see, as we pull it up here, we're going to look at some of his statistics here, but it's been a crazy year for him. Give me 1 second here.
The best thing about it, Dad, 8 touchdowns, RB10 through 11 weeks. That team is so bad offensively. They can't even support Brock Bowers, and he's literally like one of the best tight ends I've ever laid my eyes on. That offense is like the absolute floor, and he's a top 10 running back as a rookie. He has the draft capital. Probably one of my favorite takes I've had of all time is I have receipts back from Jeanty's freshman year at Boise State. Like, he's going to be a stud. Had him as a top 3 running back in that class. That was when Judkins, Ollie Gordon, those guys were like absolute studs. Probably one of my favorite takes I've ever had with a rookie running back coming out. And I really thought he was going to be absolutely insane this year. Like I thought the Raiders were going to be better than they were going to be. I thought Geno comes in, veteran QB, good veteran coaching staff coming in. They have Bowers. They have these weapons. I was wrong. It's awful. The O-line's awful. I know there's injuries to it, but I'm loving that I'm seeing this from a player like this who everyone didn't think would translate because he's coming from Boise State. Every time I watch the Raiders, if you're not watching Ashton Jeanty, you don't have a say in saying what he is. Like, I don't want to see people saying he's a bust. I don't want to see if you're looking at box scores, because I know 99% of the people are. He's running people over. He's making 4 people miss on a run. Like, he is so good. He is going to hit a stride in a year or two when they build up that offensive line where he's a 1,400-yard rusher, 1,500-yard rusher, scoring 15-plus touchdowns. Like, he reminds me of Dalvin Cook, but better and more powerful. That's the type of runner he's been. And I think that, he's getting the receiving workload. Like you said, Dad, 8 touchdowns for how awful that offense has been. He's going to have 10-plus touchdowns as a rookie. That's impressive.
What people do is they start to crap on Tedroy McMillan and Ashton Jeanty. Both of them are top 10 at their position as rookies. Like sometimes there used to be a time where we'd be like, let's let these rookies season. Let's let them come in. Now all of a sudden we want them to dominate right off the bat. Speaking of domination, Devon Achane, just 24 years old, the only running back in the NFL to have 10 plus fantasy points in every single game. You look at what he's done. I mean, over the last couple of weeks, it's been insane. 31, 12.8, 20.1, 16.6, 40.5, 21.5. I mean, he's literally lighting the fantasy football world on fire. He is the RB3 just behind Jahmyr Gibbs and Jonathan Taylor. In Dynasty, I low-key want him over Jonathan Taylor because he's going to give you more longevity with his play style. I think Jonathan Taylor, a lot of you guys are going to be like, why isn't Jonathan Taylor on this list? Again, the criteria is very important. We're talking about 24 and under. We're not talking about, a guy that's 26. And the only reason we say that, the word foundation means we're building around this. And if you build around Jonathan Taylor and you're rebuilding and you wait till 2027 when you're ready to contend, Jonathan Taylor will be 28 years old. We're seeing what's happening with Saquon Barkley at 28 years old. So this is really why we're talking about foundational assets. And Snoog, honestly, he's right there with Ashton Jeanty in value, 2.5 first. If Jeanty has a high ankle sprain, he has an ankle injury. We don't know what it's going to look like. I would flip these two, either direction. If I'm rebuilding, give me Jeanty all day long. If I'm contending, I would take Achane because you're going to get 3 years here of Devon Achane where he's an RB1. And, you mentioned it with this offense could improve, because he is literally the entire offense. He does every single thing for this offense and has been so consistent, so stable. I think he's really worth those 2.5 first. And he's a guy that you and I over the years have just been like, no, he's really good. Let's give credit where credit's due. He's a top 5 running back in this league, talent-wise. He's just been phenomenal.
Want to see something absolutely insane with him and why you need to go buy him right now if you're a contender? He has New Orleans, the Jets, the Steelers, the Bengals, and the Buccaneers from now through the championship. That might be the best matchup schedule for any of the top-end assets through the next 5 to 6 weeks. That is
Bengals Bucks is crazy.
He's popping 20. He has 40-point upside in any of these games. He has 20-point upside in probably every single one of them. I think, like you said, Dad, he's pacing his best season as a pure rusher, 900 yards on 5.5 yards per carry. He has over 1,200 all-purpose yards already, 9 touchdowns, 54 receptions through 10 games, 11 games.
I was going to say.
He's playing lights out, dude.
He's had, in 11 games, he's had 8 games of 4+. He's had 7 games of 5+. He's had 4 games of 6+. He's literally just been a PPR machine. And then you see his usage. It's now 89, 91, 87, 90%. And even in the 2 games where they were getting blown out, he had 55 and 67% of the snap share. Finished both of them. One is RB15, one is RB7. I mean, it's time to put some respect on his name. Snoog and I have overcorrected, and it's not saying we were wrong in those particular situations. It was just we needed to see more, and we've seen it. Devon Achane is right there. The next guy here, and the next 3 are all rookies. I'm going to preface with this, Snoog, because everybody's going to be like, well, I like this guy better. I like that guy better. Omarion Hampton, TreVeyon Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, every single one of them are elite level prospects that we talked about in the offseason. Every single one of them has an elite ceiling. Every single one of them has some warts as far as their system. Omarion Hampton's offensive line is abysmal right now. TreVeyon Henderson, was not getting the usage. Now he was, he outtouched Ram 21-7. But what the heck? You have Ramondre Stevenson with stuffed on the 1 twice in a row when TreVeyon Henderson does 6 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks before that. And Quinshon Judkins has to deal with this Cleveland Browns offense, which did look a little bit better with Shedeur Sanders. So let's go one at a time. Omarion Hampton first. Looks like he's going to be back after the bye. So if you stashed him, you got to be thrilled. All 3 of these guys, Snoog, I have them worth 2 first plus. And when I say that, I would prefer Jeremiah Love over Hampton, over Henderson, over Judkins, period. I don't care where he goes. However, these 3 guys are not far behind, and I think when we get to the rookie draft next year, you might be able to get Hampton in a first for the 101. Because people are going to have that much hype around Jeremiah Love because he's going to go top 10. Same with Henderson. Same with Judkins. Let's start here with Hampton. What kind of schedule are we looking at? What kind of value? What do you like about this prospect? Because you got to be pleased the way that the backups filled in. They played well enough. But Omarion Hampton is a lot better than Kamani Vidal.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, he's still playing with Justin Herbert in a good offense that's scoring points. I'm not going to lie, the playoff schedule is looking rough. I mean, he's got KC, Philly,
Dallas
Houston.
in 16.
But week 16, Dallas, he's going to give you a big bang. But the best thing about Hampton, Dad, is, I mean, if you just look at his last 3 games when he was healthy, 6 receptions,
Yeah.
5 receptions, 6 receptions. Even on those tough games where, they're playing Philly, they're playing KC. KC, I'm iffy about. That could be a shootout game. That could be a good matchup for him. But, Philly, great run D. Houston, great defense. Like, those are sketchy, but I could still see Hampton, punching in a touchdown, even if he's bad in the run game, giving you 4 or 5 receptions. Feels pretty situation-proof in this offense. He's got the age. He's had plenty of time to get healthy. After the bye, he's going to come back against Vegas, who's an absolute crapshoot right now, and give you a good week. I really think that he's going to start ramping stuff up. Love the situation. He's a first-round pick. He's flashed that upside. He's a home run hitter, just like the rest of these rookie running backs. I just think he's in the best situation, probably long-term, just because there's no Ramondre Stevenson there, and the Pats aren't being, iffy, wishy-washy with Hampton like they are with Henderson. But I just love the fact that, like, even next year, like, Slater and Joe Alt will be back healthy. Their interior O-line will be healthy. It's just long-term, just a slightly better situation here. But yeah, we'll jump into the next guy, but you hit it on the head with Hampton. Like, it's just up and down.
You look at his 2 starts where he got over 80% target or snap share. I mean, RB4, RB7, both of them were, straight up. He was balling out. You hit it really well. And then he got injured the 3rd week. But I mean, every single week he had 5 receptions plus. Every single week he had 17 touches plus. That's what you're looking back at for a guy like this. This is someone that you and I comp to. Josh Jacobs looks very similar to Joe Mixon. He plays the game the right way, and he flashed for those 2 games. Talking about flashing for a couple games. I mean, TreVeyon Henderson lit the fantasy world on fire in the preseason. Everybody was like, he's the guy, right? You and I knew he was the guy. Then for several weeks, Mike Vrabel decided he wasn't the guy for some reason. Like, he's our Dynasty RB7, also worth 2 firsts. Snoog, TreVeyon Henderson deserves 20 touches a game. At his size, I don't know if he can handle 20 touches a game all the time, but he can certainly handle 15 touches. He's a guy that I think you put him out there, set it and forget it. This Ramondre Stevenson thing is bullcrap. But even despite that, this past week, he was still a very viable fantasy option. What he did in weeks 9, 10, and 11, absolutely insane. I mean, he had 12 receptions. He had 14 plus carries a game. He finished RB4, RB3, RB15. And this past week,
5 touchdowns.
It was modest. He was RB20. But Snoog, when we talk about schedules coming up, and you and I talked about this a couple weeks ago when Ramondre Stevenson got hurt, we said, go buy TreVeyon Henderson because look at this schedule. And he's had a juicy schedule, but he gets the Giants. Then he gets a bye. Then he gets Buffalo. Giants and Buffalo are both bottom 5 in run defense. Then he gets Baltimore and the Jets. Both of them are bottom 10 when it comes to pass fantasy points per game. And both of them allow a lot of receptions to the wide receiver or to the running back. I think he's going to put up monster numbers down the stretch. And if anybody saw what happened this week and they're like, oh, well, he bounced back to normal, go buy him. Go buy him wherever you can.
Yeah, right. I don't care. Yeah, Ramondre's back, but Dad, just like Achane. I mean, he's got Baltimore, Buffalo, the Jets, Miami. Like, and he's got the Giants next week. Like, what a friggin' schedule for him, dude. Like, he's about to light up all these shitty defenses, even if he's getting 65, 70% of snaps, just like Gibbs. It's just that one play, right? He needs that one play to get you 10 to 15 fantasy points in. He's getting the volume still, even with Ramondre back. I mean, he still had, 18 carries in the ground game, 3 receptions, 21 total touches. Like,
65% snap share, 21 to 7 touches. And that's really what we're kind of looking at is TreVeyon Henderson. And you can pick your poison with these guys. If you get any on top of the other one, you go ahead and you take it because Quinshon Judkins with Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel and Quinshon Judkins was not the thing. They stacked the box. They knew he wasn't going to be able to throw the ball more than 12 yards. And that's probably being generous. But now Shedeur comes back. So you see him finish as, back-to-back weeks. He had the touches, in weeks 10 and 11 with 39 touches in 2 games. But he finished with RB26, RB42, RB41, RB50. Like, he was not going to do it with Dylan Gabriel. With Shedeur Sanders against a decent run defense with the Raiders, he put up RB9 numbers. He had 16 carries. He back in the Wildcat, 2 touchdowns. You and I talked about it, and I think also he's our RB8. He's worth 2 firsts. We look at Quinshon Judkins right now as like, it's going to take the touchdowns. For him to be an RB1 every week, he's going to have a touchdown or more. And you look at his games with a touchdown, RB11, RB11, RB4, RB9. Weeks without touchdowns, 29-20, 50-41, 26-42. So he's not going to get the receptions. Unfortunately, he only has a handful. He has one game where he has 4 receptions, another with 3, another with 2. The rest of them pretty much 1 or 0. So he needs those touchdowns. But with Shedeur, they might put up some points. And again, another juicy schedule coming up for Quinshon Judkins.
I know. I was just looking at it like, damn, Achane, Henderson, Judkins, I'm pumped because I got these guys on a lot of rosters. Look at that. I mean, we were talking about it, Dad. Like, yeah, the snap share isn't there. He's not getting the receptions, but like his last 3 games healthy, 22, 17, 16 carries. He's punching touchdowns in left and right. There couldn't be a better stretch of games here coming up from week 13 to 18 for Shedeur Sanders to just somewhat put some type of, rhythm together with this offense, or even just give Judkins some more space and some more room as a runner. Like San Fran, Tennessee, Chicago, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati. Those are all bottom 15 run defenses in the NFL and bottom 10 scoring defenses in the NFL right now. Like, they're going to have some room. Like, this is what you want to see. Even though their offense is bad, you want to see something like this for them. Henderson, Judkins, Achane, those 3 have the best schedules by far out of these foundational value RBs. Now's a great time to buy in for, even if you're paying 1.5 to 2 first for all of them, Dad, like after these 5 to 6 games left, they're going to be worth probably more, right? Like if Henderson goes off and starts popping 20 bombs and Judkins too, people are going to be like, are they the Dynasty RB3? Are they the Dynasty RB4? Are they worth 2.5, 3 first now, So like, now's a good time to buy into them because, they don't have the bad schedule that could give them, 3-point games. And then everyone's like, I'm not too interested in them anymore.
I think Hampton, Henderson, Judkins stick in this foundational, this area where you're talking about cornerstones. I think Achane and Jeanty could go into that centerpiece role. What would it take for you to see them enter that Bijan territory? Because Achane has been. Let's say they move off of Tua, and next year he has a new quarterback, a new system, and he puts up these kind of numbers. I think we have to put him up there. And Jeanty's the talent where he's really close. What do these guys got to do to show you to get to that next level? Is it possible?
I think Jeanty's the only one talent-wise that can get there. Maybe I think Henderson could if he starts getting 5 to 6 to 7 receptions every game. I just don't think any of them are. I think they're all just one step slightly below Bijan and Gibbs.
This is still a good place to be. Yeah.
What's really nice is go ahead.
What's really nice about this list is we were telling people to insulate down and get these extra 25 firsts, and people were selling, Saquon Barkley for Christian McCaffrey in a first in February. And some of these firsts became Quinshon Judkins, TreVeyon Henderson, guys like that. Now the next list, and this is where we vary greatly compared to wide receivers. We had 14 guys that we said were foundational. We only have 10 running backs that we say are foundational running backs, guys that you can have both on a contender and a rebuilder, guys that you know are going to increase in value. And, the guys that are under 25 years old, 24 and under. This group here, Snoog, is very interesting because I think if Bucky played all year, he's in the group above. And if Breece Hall got anywhere near the volume with what we saw this past week with Tyrod Taylor in the passing game, Breece Hall would be up there. And the way we saw Cam Skattebo play, limited time before his injury, you could argue all 3 of these guys would be up there. Now, I think Skattebo is a little bit less talented than Breece Hall and Bucky Irving, but I think he's super talented. All 3 of these guys are really good. Talk to me a little bit about what you're doing here in Dynasty with these 3 guys, because honestly, Bucky and Skattebo are your rebuilding dream right now, as is Breece Hall, because I think Breece Hall, we know he's gone next year. We know there's a lot of running back needy teams, and he gets his choice. These 3 guys here, I'm buying everywhere because Bucky's depressed because he hasn't played. Skattebo's injured. People are worried about that. Breece is going to go somewhere else. This is where you can make your money.
Yeah, Bucky's really the only one. I mean, Breece too. We'll get into kind of their schedules rest of the season and what that's going to look like for these guys and what we're projecting. But I think Bucky long-term is in the best situation out of any of them. I think you could also argue Skattebo's situation's phenomenal long term, right? Dart, neighbors, getting a new coach in there. Some really good opportunity there for the Giants to keep building and make their team even better. Best case scenario for Breece, they're not going to pay him, and he's going and walking, and he's going to sign a big deal with, the Chiefs, or he's going to sign a big deal with, the Texans or one of these teams in desperate need of a star running back. And then his value is going to skyrocket because talent-wise, he's up there with some of the best in the league. But Bucky Irving, Dad, I mean, the first 4 games he played, he was phenomenal, especially as a receiver. The biggest thing with Bucky for me right now is again, just like Achane, just like Hendo, just like Judkins, if you look at, he's supposed to be back this week. If you look at his rest of the season schedule, his rest of the season schedule is also absolutely juiced. He's got so many awful defenses. My favorite thing, though, he's in such a bad defensive division. I mean, you got the Panthers, you got the Saints, you got the Bucks, and you got who else is in? Atlanta. Come on. That's just 8 games, 6 games every year where he's going to go out there and have a chance at some really big points. Coming back week 13, Arizona, New Orleans, and then he's got Atlanta, Carolina, and Miami in the playoffs. Come on, just looking back at the first 4 weeks, people were nervous he wasn't going to get the reception volume because of Rachaad White, myself included, going into the season. 4, 6, 4, 5 receptions. The utilization's there. He's going to be really good for this next upcoming stretch.
I have him worth currently as our RB9, and I think the gap there, he's the last guy we have before we start sprinkling in your James Cooks, Christian McCaffreys, guys like that. Yep. I have him worth an early to mid first. Let's put a real number on that. What number would you be comfortable trading straight up for Bucky Irving on a contender? 101, clearly not in the picture. 102?
No.
103?
Nope. He's probably in that 105, 104, 105 range.
At 105 plus a little juice, I have no problem because he's 24 years old. You're going to get a real solid running back that's going to put up fantasy points for you. And I personally think he's super talented. I think the next guy's more talented. I think Breece Hall is one of the top 5 to 6 talented running backs in the NFL. He's at the RB 15, which most people, you're like, oh, I got the RB 15 in fantasy. You'd be like, that's great. Except most people remember that he was RB2. But over the last couple of weeks, he started to look a little bit more like himself. You look at since the bye, finishes RB7 against a tough Browns defense, 21 for 83, a 42-yard reception on 1 target, of course. Against the Patriots, really good run defense. That was RB33. But then he got Baltimore, finishes RB14, 16 for 44, 4 receptions for 75. That's huge. He has that home run ability. You saw it in that little dump off. I don't know how this man is not getting 6 to 7 targets per game. Yeah. It's criminal that you look at over the last couple 0, 3, 3, 1, 2, 4. That can't happen. He's got to get the ball. Yeah. But I see you have Atlanta coming up this week, Miami, both juicy matchups. 15, 16, and 17 is the slate from hell, though. Jacksonville, New Orleans, and New England. So he's got a tough playoff schedule, but I'm personally buying. I mean, I think right now, Breece Hall is worth a mid-first plus. I think just like we said, Bucky's probably 105. I have Breece worth the 105, 106 right now because you look at next year's class, you got Love, you got Tate, you got Tyson, you got Lemon. There's 1 or 2 quarterbacks that are going to be in here, but I mean, Breece Hall is more talented than any second running back in this class. I mean, way over Haynes, way over, any of these guys that are going to be on that list. So give me as much Breece Hall as I can because he is going to be the guy wherever he goes next year.
You nailed it. And the best thing about Breece Hall coming up, Dad, is just look at that schedule again. Atlanta, Miami, Jacksonville, New Orleans.
Then flip.
17's tough with the Pats, but yeah, he's got a big stretch coming up where he could get some things going as long as once Garrett's back and Tyrod's the QB, this is going to be the best offense it's been all year, right? For the Jets. Sad to say, but
that's sad to say.
I think that Breece is going to be able to get a couple touchdowns in there mixed in, get some receiving volume, maybe 100-yard rushing in a couple of these against Miami and some of these teams where it could just be an absolute shit show. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I think he's really leaving, going to KC, going to Houston, going to some of these teams that need a real stud running back to come in and be the 3-down guy. Because to be a good, complete offense in this NFL, I really, truly think you need a really good run game, especially with the 2 high shell looks that we're seeing a lot more of this year. Well, you're looking at the best teams in the NFL right now. They're all running the ball at a high rate. So I do think he's going to come in and be a really good place for some team like that in need of it.
The next guy here, you got to be thrilled with it. I mean, what we saw after week 1, barely involved, just 2 carries, 2 targets. But week 2, he got 50% plus. And since then, I mean, you looked at him, he had 7 touchdowns in 6 weeks. He finished as the RB5, the RB4, the RB11, almost guaranteed 20 touches a game. And then what you saw from the pass game, I mean, eight targets, 7 targets, 6 targets, every single game, multiple targets for Cam Skattebo. Right now, I mean, again, would be the RB2 in next year's class, in my opinion. Based off what we've seen, he would be the RB2. So I would pay, and I don't think you have to. I think on a contending, if you're trying to trade to a contender, you can get Skattebo plus for a first.
Yeah.
You can just give, Rico Dowdle plus a little bit. You can give, I traded Quinshon Judkins and a second for him. I think Cam Skattebo, this is that time of year where you can trade for an injured player. You get that injury discount, but this guy's phenomenal. Like, he has been so good. The chemistry he has with Jackson Dart is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, he was one of our favorite, in the Smash rookie guides this past offseason. Like, the tape alone was top 4 in this class, no doubt. Like, extreme elusiveness, such a good blend of vision and patience between the tackles, could run through you, great after contact. Very good receiver, carried that Arizona State team as far as they went last year in the college football playoffs. Mm-hmm. One of the hardest schedules we've seen. So, I mean, Dog on a great offense, growing offense with Jackson Dart, Malik Neighbors, Bijan Robinson looks great. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe, and maybe Winston stays there for another year or two, and then you just lock in 2 really good. Like, if Dart gets hurt, all right, fire up Winston, right? So it's good to see that there, but I think the Giants are building something there, and they're going to keep building up the O-line, keep building up the defense, and they're going to be a good team, a sneaky team. So I like Skattebo a lot and his value. Great buy on rebuilds right now.
I love when you guys watch live on YouTube, like Bruce Wayne here, the Prince of Gotham himself, been waiting on this one. Guys, we do every single Tuesday, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. We do a trade show. It's literally become the best part of my week, Snoog's week. I mean, we absolutely get geared up for it with Brock or Sean, whoever, jumps in the host chair. It's been an amazing adventure because, like, we're literally seeing that grow every single week. If you guys want to get your fantasy trades answered, if you guys want to jump on there and just get some different perspective on dynasty trades, that's the way to go. Also, we have our Patreon link right there, patreon.com/smashaccept. Right now, use code BROCK25. You'll get 25% off the yearly or the monthly, and it is the place to be. We will push you through the playoffs. We will get you that extra push that you guys need with start sits, DM access to both of us, as well as all of our content. So thanks again for tuning in, guys, and enjoy the process.